Greetings, social media land. This is Ted Victor with the Broward Social Network. Today is Monday, July the 27th at approximately 3 p.m. in the afternoon. We are here with Kim Schnitzius, who is a candidate for commissioner in the city of Weston in Florida, Commission Seat number 2. Kim, welcome. I'm going to actually stick to Kim because Schnitzius is a bit of a challenge. So Kim, welcome to the Broward Social Network.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. And Kim is fine.
Thank you so very much. Well, first of all, I really am happy that you have made time out of your busy schedule to talk to us here. As you know, I am an educator, I'm a community activist, and I'd like to be able to introduce my students to people who are making a difference in society, who are running for office. So before we start with a whole host of things that we can talk about, tell us who you are and why you're running for office.
Well, I am a former special education teacher and exceptional student education specialist. I worked with every grade level, but my favorite was high school. I like the 11th and 12th graders. Those were my favorite, getting ready to go out into the world and live their lives and make a difference. So that was really wonderful. Then I went on to volunteering. When my own kids were getting involved and so forth, I've been a Girl Scout leader for well over 20 years now. And now my troop has all graduated. So I'm currently a Gold Award advisor, still working with high school girls who are striving to earn the Gold Award, which is Girl Scouts' highest leadership award. So I get to mentor them and watch as they develop their own projects, making a difference in the world in their way. So that's always very exciting. I'm also a very active community volunteer. I'm a member of Weston's Community Emergency Response Team, which is a national volunteer organization that advocates for emergency preparedness and supports our first responders. Member of the board member of the Weston Music Society. So I'm involved in all sorts of things. Now.
Is this your first time running for office?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
So it's very exciting.
Okay, as a former person who also ran for office in the city of Pembroke Pines, talk to me about your city, because honestly, I've been living in Pembroke Pines for quite a number of years, over a decade. I really don't know Weston that well. So talk to us about Weston, the city. Talk to us about the borders. Talk to us about the demographics. Talk to us about Weston. Let the community know where Weston is and what Weston is about.
Okay. Well, I lived in Pembroke Pines for 11 years before we moved over here to Weston. And Now we've been in Weston for 16 years. Weston is a kind of unique city in that it was incorporated in 1996 with a contract style of government, which is a little unique. There are other communities that have done this, but not so many.
What does that mean? What does that mean, contract style of government?
It means that there are only 10 regular city employees for a city of almost 70,000 people.
So Weston is a small city, approximately.
So about 70,000 people. For a city that size, you'd think there would be a lot more employees, but what they have done is they contract out everything. Our water, we have a contract with the city of Sunrise to do our water. Police and fire, we have a contract with BSO and so forth. We have another company that handles parks and recreation, and so that's how everything is handled. Garbage and recycling, all that pickup is all contracted out. So everything is contracted out. So it's very efficient. It keeps the taxes low. The millage rate for our taxes, people complain about the taxes being high here, but that's because it's based on your property values. So the millage rate is a percentage that they use to calculate your property taxes. And that percentage is taken on your home value. So our millage rate is actually the lowest, I believe, one of the lowest or the lowest in Broward County.
Okay, so, and what is that? What is that millage rate? I'm curious.
It's 3 point, they were just talking about it. It's like 3.4, 3.5, somewhere in there. I don't know the exact number. I'd have to look that up, but it's.
Now, pardon me for interrupting you, Kim, because this is an educational tool. in high school language, maybe even in middle school language, explain millage, because you and I know what it is. But and then my real question, the reason I'm asking you that is because maybe I'm wrong. When I think of Weston, I think upper middle class people, right? Why would it be so low? I would think the people who make more money should be taxed even more, right? So
Yes.
talk about what is millage and then why is it so low? I would think it should be just a little bit higher than according to maybe compared to other cities.
Yes. Well, the millage rate is just the percentage, basically. I don't know why they call it millage instead of just saying percentage, but it's the percentage that they charge you based on your property value. Okay. So whatever the property value is, the percentage or millage rate is 3 point something here in Weston. And the reason that they can do, that's just city taxes. That doesn't count. I mean, of course, you have other taxes on top of that you have to pay, but the city services specifically within the boundaries of Weston, because they are so efficient with the contracts that they negotiate, that's why they're able to keep the taxes low. So it's efficiency. There's less waste, there's less, they don't have to worry about pensions and all that, because that's the company that they contract with, that's within their contract. So it's also, I think one of the reasons the millage rate is low is because of the homeowners associations out here. Most of the communities in Weston are gated. Within those gates, the homeowners association has to take care of the roadways. So in essence, the homeowners fees that you're paying are kind of a tax as well, even though it's not called a tax. It's but those fees, so my husband and I pay almost $500 a quarter, and part of that money goes towards maintaining our streets and roads and the drainage within the community. So things normally a city would have to do, Weston doesn't have to do. Okay,
I understand. What is the average income? What is the average property value out in Weston? Again, when I think about Weston, I think about folks who are to do a beautiful neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood.
It varies. It runs all the way. We do have Section 8 housing in Weston. We have Bonaventure, which Bonaventure was absorbed into Weston. We incorporated in 1996, and I think Bonaventure joined like 1997, 1998, somewhere in there, when Broward County required all areas of the county to incorporate into a city. And Bonaventure was being wooed by both Weston and Sunrise, and ultimately decided to come over to join Weston. And there's areas there where the houses are more affordably priced. Condos, there's townhouses, there's retirement housing. So it goes the housing in Weston runs the gamut from very affordable all the way up to mansions. So
I've seen them.
It does run the gamut, yes.
What are the demographics in Weston?
I have not looked lately, but I know it's a very large chunk is Hispanic. There's a small portion of Black residents. I think it's like a little over 50% Hispanic, a little bit less, right around there. And then the rest is divided up. There's white and small, like 5 to 10% Black, and then other. I know I have Brazilian friends, I have Colombian friends, I have, Jewish friends. So it's a very diverse community.
Okay, so as a candidate running for commission in Weston, in commission seat number 2, please talk to us about your platform. What's important to the residents in Weston? Because I wish, I have 2 enemies, and this is personal. This is nothing to do with you. I have 2 enemies, and they're called time and distance. Time, because I don't know if I'll be alive long enough to accomplish all of my goals. And distance means that nowadays with COVID-19, I have to keep my distance from people such as yourself who are making a difference in the world. So I want to know what's important to the people out there in Weston, and how are you going to address those needs? Because there's just a lot going on today, Kim. There's a lot. We have COVID-19.
Yes.
We have social unrest. We have protests and manifestations. We have police brutality. We have unemployment. And pardon me for saying this live on air, and you're crazy enough to run for office. So what's important to the residents out there in Weston?
I've been talking to a lot of the residents out here in Weston, and the things that come up a lot are traffic issues come up, which everybody has to deal with that. And a few people mentioned crime. We have a very low crime rate out here, but if it happens to you, it's too high. So that's been an issue. And there has been some tension out here, and the local Facebook groups have gotten into some arguments between neighbors, and that's sad to see.
What's going on? What's going on? Talk to us.
Yeah, well, we have some, let's say, conservative Facebook groups out here and some liberal Facebook groups out here, and the people just don't always see eye to eye. We had some students who walked from one of the parks to our city hall and then heard some speakers there. And they were doing this to recognize Black Lives Matter. And there were some residents that had some problems with that. And then that led to a series of meetings that our city commission held. And they gave everyone time to be heard. So there were a lot of speakers, and I applaud the mayor for doing that, for allowing everyone to have their say, and on both sides. So everyone gets 3 minutes to speak at our city commission meetings, and they kept going until everyone had had a chance, and listened to both sides. They listened to our police chief, and listened to the police chief from Miramar, and had them talk about initiatives that they're instituting, the police chief in Miramar, and then also our police chief here. So they addressed the issue head on, and I think that was great of our city commission to do that.
What say you? Do Black Lives Matter?
Yes, Black Lives Matter.
And you know what? I say Black Lives Matter because all lives matter, right? Because yes, as an educator, right? As an educator, they're almost synonyms as far as I'm concerned, right? When somebody says to me, when somebody says to me, all lives matter, there's just no question there, right? But in order for all lives to matter, Black lives have to matter, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because they're synonyms, right? If I say to you Black Lives Matter and you say all lives matter, and I say, okay, well, we're saying the same thing. Now, obviously, if I say Black Lives Matter, it does not mean that other lives don't matter.
Exactly.
Right? Because obviously, all lives matter: white, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, all lives matter. Mm-hmm. So I as an educator and as a scientist, I kind of almost look at it as comedy. Like, why are we disputing semantics? Because if you're saying that all lives matter, you are also saying that Black lives matter, and so forth. They're not mutually exclusive. You see?
Yes.
So exactly. having said that, I didn't see the point of the other side, right? The people who are upset with Black Lives Matter. Where are they coming from? Are they perceiving that if we say Black Lives Matter, they're perceiving that they don't matter? Is that what they're perceiving?
I can't speak for them. I really don't understand that stance. I've been raised to believe that you be fair to everybody. My 20 years in Girl Scouts, where we talk about the Girl Scout promise and the Girl Scout law, where we talk about respecting others and making the world a better place. And it doesn't say respect certain others. Right. You know, it doesn't say make the world a better place for some people. It says respect others, period. Make the world a better place, period. And that's something that I've been so involved with Girl Scouts because I believe in those statements. Well, so I don't understand where those people are coming from.
Listen, this interview, and I'm having a little glitch with Facebook for now, but we're live on Twitter and we're live on YouTube. Okay. But I will definitely get onto Facebook. This interview will be seen by hundreds, if not thousands. Okay, this is a very busy platform. And any candidate, I don't care if you're from Mars, I don't care if you're from Czechoslovakia. I don't care if you're from Zimbabwe. But any candidate who can tell me that they believe in fairness and equality for all people has my vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you. Yeah.
I make it a point to give people like yourself a platform, because now more than ever, we need to recognize that Black lives do matter, but more important than Black lives matter, now more than ever, we need to realize that we're all in this together. We need to have what are called allies, right?
Yeah.
You would fall in the category of what's called an ally, because what does an ally mean? An ally means you're not the only person responsible for your safety. This means that if I were your neighbor and I see somebody breaking into your car, I have to intervene. Mm-hmm. That's what neighbors mean. That's what being in a community mean. If you are, maybe I should probably give a simple example. If you're getting out of your car and you have a whole bunch of bags, maybe it's the way my parents raised me. At a minimum, I ought to be able to say, do you need help?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so I need to be able to kind of magnify that message so that the next generation can adopt the value that you matter as a human being, mm-hmm. as a mother, as a politician or a candidate, and so forth, as a person, as an elected official, as a woman. You matter, because we are all breathing the same air, drinking the same water, and walking on the same land. So I find it very hard, as a person who studied anthropology and public health, I find it very hard to understand division.
Me too. As someone who just believes in being fair.
Right. So therefore, I am looking forward to seeing your presence on the dais in Weston. And being able to make life easier for everybody.
Yes. I mean, there's so much that we can't control. So many bad things happen to people, just, cancer and all the natural disasters and all the things that we can't control. The things that we can control, let's make those as fair as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Now, you wonderfully talked about your upbringing. So let's take a little bit back and let's go a little bit back in time and talk about how you grew up, because I still am asking, even though I did it myself and I'm planning on doing it again, I'm asking, why is it that you're running for office? What values were instilled in you that would compel you to run for office?
Well, I am the daughter of a nurse.
Okay.
So
that's a start.
I was raised with someone who gives back.
Like my wife.
Aw. So I was born and raised in Miami.
Okay.
And my mom, when we were little, she was a single parent and we were on food stamps. I remember going to a big warehouse and this is when she was in nursing school. I remember going to a big warehouse where we would buy these big, huge blocks of cheese and, so forth that she could buy with the food stamps. We ate a lot of grilled cheese sandwiches when I was a kid.
Wow.
But, then she remarried when I was around 8. And of course, then there were 2 incomes. So my stepfather worked for the phone company, and working class. And we did better then because they had the 2 incomes. But like I said, grew up down there, went to college, went to North Carolina for 1 year, and then came back down to UCF, where I met my husband. Mm-hmm. And we've been married for 30, how many years now? Almost 32 years.
But you know what, Kim, unfortunately for me, we didn't have this conversation earlier, but I find it to be an honor and a privilege to get to know you more now. Anyone who has walked the avenues of have-nots, anyone who's had the avenues of challenge, of worrying about the bills, or possibly food stamps, I somehow feel as if this individual is going to understand the community better.
Yeah.
Because the other reality that we haven't talked about yet is the economy, right? Because a lot of folks are out of jobs. I saw maybe about a month ago something that completely shocked me. I would put, I don't know, maybe I need to do a little bit of real estate research, but I would put Weston and Cooper City along the same lines in terms of affluence.
Yeah.
And about a month ago, coming from a tennis court, I was driving, and I really didn't even know, because I don't really know the line, like where a city ends and where the city begins. I should know, but I don't. And I saw the longest line of cars, and I didn't know what it was, but it was an extremely long line of cars. And I simply just asked one of the people in line, I said, "Ma'am, what is this line for?" And she said, "It's line for food." And I said, "Wait a minute, what city is this?" And she said, "This is Cooper City." I said, "You are in line for food?" And I said, "Well, what are they giving out?" She said, "Well, sometimes they give out meat, they give out milk, and they give out some fruits and vegetables." And I had a whole lot more questions, but I was stunned.
Yes.
And I'm from a third world country. I'm from the Dominican Republic. My mother's from Haiti. My father's from Cuba. So I'm part of the immigrant story whereby we came here for a better life. I never thought I'd see food lines in America. I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. So what is the reality out there in Weston? Has the economy impacted Weston?
A lot of people that I'm talking to are saying that they are able to work from home, or, small business owners and so forth, the people that I've been talking to recently. I'm sure there are some impacts. My husband is a software engineer. He was able to he worked from home to begin with. So he would just have to go into the office a few days a week. So now he just stays home every day. People are fortunate in that sense when they can make that transition to home. I know not everyone can. I know our small businesses are suffering. The restaurants, people are rallying around the restaurants and encouraging everybody to get takeout, even if you don't necessarily want to go and eat in the restaurant itself. So I know a lot of people are struggling. To address that in at least a small way, I spoke at a city commission meeting and said, I think we need to start a community vegetable garden here in Weston. And it won't solve the problem, but it'll make a dent, growing some fresh vegetables to provide to the local food banks. And I knew that the city was not going to do it on their own. We needed to form a nonprofit. So that's what we're doing. The nonprofit is going to partner with the city now and start a community vegetable garden. We're taking the initial steps. We've just opened our bank account, and we're working on establishing the 501c3. We have to save up before we can apply to do that. So that's one way that I've chosen to try and help and try and address it. I know we have some great organizations out here that are addressing food insecurity. That's Harvest Drive, which is just a wonderful organization that was started at Country Isles Elementary and now is based out of Western High School, but a lot of other high schools have Harvest Drive in their schools as well. And they help year round. They started out as just helping at Thanksgiving, but now they help year round. Rotary, we have a very strong Rotary Club out here that's also working on food insecurity and has food drives and food banks, and so they do quite a bit with that as well.
Have you had food drives out there, or does Weston not need the food drives?
Yes, there have been food drives out here.
And folks have been in line for food in Weston as well?
Yes. It's everywhere.
Is the dais out in Weston responsible for or interested in or taking account of the impact of the number of people unemployed in Weston?
That has not come up at any of the city commission meetings, but it needs to.
Because here's what my understanding is, and I'm not an elected official, I'm just a guy in a classroom who's really interested in what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. My understanding is that if folks are not working, or percentage of folks are not working, if a percentage of the businesses shut down in Weston, the dais will get less of a revenue coming in, correct?
Yes.
There will be a domino effect on the dais directly.
Yes, they've been talking about the effects that COVID's going to have long term. They are the gentleman who does the budgeting process, one of the 10 city employees, is very forward thinking in terms of, looking at the long-term outlook. They did have reserves that they've been able to pull on. Because I watch all the city commission meetings and all their budget workshops and so forth. So I know that they do have plans to deal with this as far as the city's income, so that they can still pay all of our police and fire and all the other services that the city utilizes. So I know they are looking at that. As far as any social services, they defer to the county.
How big is the budget out there in Weston? I mean, like I said, when I look at those homes, I'm thinking you guys have billions.
Yeah, no, I think the annual budget is around, and I haven't looked at the budget in a while. They're coming out with a new one. So the new one hasn't been published yet. So I think it's around 140, 150 million a year.
And you
so don't hold me to that though.
Okay. But based on what you told me, I'm gathering that you do not have your own fire and police stations, you borrow out?
No, they did. What they do is they have the contract with BSO, but the city of Weston builds the fire stations. It's just for staffing that they contract out. So right now in the budget, they are paying for 5 new emergency rescue vehicles, for instance. They're also paying for a new fire station that's being built in the Bonaventure area that's going to be state of the art. It's going to provide protections for our firefighters in that it will have hot zones, warm zones, cold zones, so that when they go to a fire or a car accident or whatever it may be, and they're exposed to carcinogenic materials, they will come back to the fire station and have a decontamination area. So then when they go to the living areas of the fire station, they're not carrying those contaminants with them. So it's to protect the firefighters and hopefully reduce the incidence of cancer among these very important first responders that we have. So that's something that Weston is building, but it will be staffed by BSO.
Okay, you talked about, you mentioned a very important topic, which is one of my standard questions for candidates. We have to talk about the elephant in the room. We have to talk about COVID-19. Talk to us about what are the numbers? Is Weston keeping track of the numbers? Because there are hotspots, right? So does Weston have its own numbers independent of the rest of the county? What does it look like out there in Weston?
I think the count yesterday, somebody posted it was around 800 people were sick with COVID, diagnosed with COVID yesterday.
Wow.
So I was a special education teacher, but I'm now certified also in health, because that has just been, personal interest of mine, and I've taken enough classes that I was able to add that certification on to my teaching certificate. And so I've been following this. I'm very concerned about COVID. I'm very concerned about people going out without wearing masks, that they don't understand that it's not, they're acting like it's a personal decision. Like, I don't care if I'm exposed to COVID, but that's not the case. The masks don't really protect you. You can still get COVID if you have a mask on. It protects other people. And they're like, well, the virus particles are so small, they can just get through the mask. No, that's the virus itself may be able to get through the mask, but the virus has to be carried on your exhalations. It has to be carried on the moisture from.
It decreases the likelihood. It decreases the likelihood. So you take
the mask stop you from spreading.
No one says if you wash your hands are going to be sterile, but it decreases the likelihood that you're going to transmit a pathogen to another person. So yes. I'll be honest with you. I'm an asthmatic. It's hard for me to breathe normally. I didn't wear the mask at the beginning, but then again, I wasn't really going out. But I wear a mask. Yep. And it is the right thing to do for the community, and it's called being a responsible citizen. So it is what it is. What about the death rate? Do you have any death numbers out there in Weston?
Not specifically for Weston. Our mayor had it early on.
Yes. So. Yes. Shout out to your mayor. Please forgive me. We did not recognize your mayor yet. Shout out to
Mayor Dan Sturmer. Yes.
Yes, Mayor Sturmer is okay. So I met him, and I think I'd like to interview him as well. So you can tell him that Ted Victor would like to interview him as well.
I'll tell him.
Yes. All right. So talk to us about education, because I cannot leave this wonderful interview speaking to a fellow educator and talk to us about education. Talk to us about the number of schools out there in Weston. Do you have any high schools, middle schools, elementary schools?
There is one high school out there. Like 6, 7, 8 elementary schools, 2 middle schools. There's a charter school. There's a few private schools. Some of our students are zoned to the school in Weston, that's Cypress Bay High School. And most of the students go to Cypress Bay, but there's the northeast corner of Weston that is zoned to Western High School. That's where my kids went to high school. And that's where I was involved with the PTSA, and I'm still on the SAC committee. I'm still a chairperson of a scholarship committee out there. So the Weston schools are great. They're always A-rated schools. Yes, very good reputation. So
good reputation. What is the connection, if any, between the dais in Weston and the school board? And I'm asking that because you're signing up for a position when you're elected, because I do believe you will win. You're signing up to be the dart, to be the sounding board or the shouting ground for parents, because parents are going to come and complain to you about everything that's going on, things that are outside of your purview. They're going to come see you and expect you to solve them. So what is the connection between the school board and the dais? And I ask that because if enough parents are complaining about something going on in the school system, are you expected to answer that?
To a certain extent, yes. A lot of the students were the ones that spoke out in the series of city commission meetings that I was talking about. It was not too long ago that happened. The mayor, Sturmer, works closely. I know he speaks with Principal Freed out there at Cypress Bay. He speaks with her quite often because she was also interviewed by the city commission, and they touched on that they interact regularly. The city commission pays for the SRO officers in the schools, and they have all of them covered now, and they were talking about adding another SRO officer to Cypress Bay. That's in the budget discussions that they're having, because they're going through the budgeting process right now, approving the budget for next year. So they do work quite closely with the schools. I know they have high school students that are invited to participate in Weston University, and they can learn about the city government. It's a special program that they have that I think is just wonderful. So there's that mentoring aspect there. And I know that the city commissioners and the mayor are liaisons in a lot of ways between the residents and the city staff, between the residents and the schools. So I know that's a very important role that the city commissioners play.
Where do you stand in terms of how and when school should open in the fall? Where do you stand?
There are no right answers.
I know that's a loaded question. But we can't avoid that important conversation because it's just literally around the corner and it's such a big topic.
Yes, my husband, you see his hand coming in the screen. He's sitting over there next to me. So I'm like, put your hand out. There is no right answer on that one. It's just, no matter what you do, it's a difficult situation. I really think that we should go electronic to start out with. That's me personally. My kids are all out of public school now, though. My youngest just turned 18. So I don't have any more kids. They're all young adults now.
But Kim, for the people who are going, for the hundreds and thousands of people who are going to see this, because I couldn't understand why there were parents wanting their kids to go to school 5 days a week, even though I understand that it's a work issue. They don't have anywhere to leave their kids.
Yes, and exactly.
And in my humble opinion, I don't think that the school board should be able to answer all of the questions of this pandemic. I do believe that private companies should take on some of the slack as well. For example, my wife is a registered nurse, and she works out of Aventura Hospital. If, for example, she were a single parent, we don't have to worry about that because I'm home. But if she were a single parent, I would think that the hospitals should at least consider the possibility of letting this kid stay in the cafeteria with supervision.
Yes.
Because we don't know who's going to have it, and folks of all ages are dying from it. And you know just as well as I do, if you create a policy mandating everybody wear a mask on school campus, the kids are not going to wear it.
Nope. They're
not going to wear it. Maybe for 5 minutes, but they're not going to wear it.
Then there'll be slingshots and they'll wear them down here and yeah, no, of course they're not. So I really don't see that there's any other choice even though it's not ideal, there's no other choice but to go electronic to start out with. And I know I was taking a class, in order to keep my teaching certificate renewed, I take 2 courses at Broward College every 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I just finished my last course. It was a Spanish 3 course, and it finished in April, May. And so we had already shut down everything because of COVID at that point. And so we went to remote learning, and the professor went electronic. She presented the same lecture via video, the way we're doing right now, as she would have presented in class. Right, and that worked. So, it wasn't ideal. Of course, it was far better to be in class interacting. That's why I take the classes at Broward College instead of taking completely online, because I like the interaction with the other students. And I missed that, but it was still, as far as actually teaching the content, it was still very effective. So, but, I'm an adult. I'm not an adult who's motivated. I wanted to learn the material. And, I know it's going to be tougher for kids. I don't know. I have suggested if they do absolutely have to go back to school, and I just don't see how it's going to be possible with the numbers the way they are right now. But, have the older kids, put the high school kids at home, because they can be home without their parents. Then move the middle school kids to the high school where you can spread them out. Move the older elementary kids to the middle schools, and then you can spread everybody out. But how could they possibly even do that, because they wouldn't have the staff? Right. Because how many teachers are just going to say, I'm done. I'm not going to I already risked my life with there's active shooter drills, and there's all this other stuff that teachers are being asked to do. It's too much. Black mold
in the schools.
Dealing with that. It's awful. I worked in a sick building before too. I taught in a sick building, and it's just awful. You go home and you're just your lungs are burning, and my
guess is that the school board will comply with the request of the parents.
Yeah.
So me personally, as an educator, I have the luxury to stay home and still get the job done and still earn a paycheck, fortunately, and also see to it that my children get a good education. But for the life of me, even if the parents really, really did not have anywhere to leave their kids, because both mom and dad work 9 to 5 in an office somewhere and they cannot take their kids with them, I still don't understand why they would even want to take the risk of putting their kids on a campus where their kids can wind up getting this disease. So I just don't understand it. So I'm thankful that so far the decision has been made for us to remain electronic, to do e-learning and keep everybody safe. The goal is, even though there is the social component of education, but the goal is to get the student credit to move on to college, and we can do that online. There are kids who are homeschooled. There's Florida virtual, there's Broad virtual, so we can still get the job done. I mean, the sports and the social connection with other peer groups will probably be eliminated for now.
We'll just have to wait until we get through this.
Exactly. So definitely we must be able to keep everybody safe first. All right.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit more about your election in your city.
Yes.
Is your race a nonpartisan race?
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, this is an appeal to both Democrats, Republicans, and to independents. Mm-hmm. Okay. And is your city a district race, or is it a city race?
City race. I have to come from the specific area because they want representatives from all parts of the city, but it is a citywide election.
Meaning that everybody in Weston can and will vote for you.
Yes.
Awesome. How are you reaching out to the constituents considering the pandemic?
Well, I was canvassing, knocked on a lot of doors before we had to stop, and I'm not going to canvass anymore because I think that would be irresponsible. It's just the thought, if I was asymptomatic and might have exposed somebody else, I couldn't live with myself if that were the case. So now it's Phone calls.
Right, phone calls and social media, and we will also share this interview as well. So there's no more canvassing. But you're saying that you're making some phone calls.
Yes.
What is the number again? Please forgive me. The number of potential voters that are eligible to vote for you.
There's 70,000 residents in the city. How many are eligible? My husband's my data guy. How many people? I know my vote number is 13,000. So if I get to that number, then I think I would win the election.
All bets are off on this election.
How many registered voters are there in Weston?
Probably 30,000.
30, yeah, 30 to 40,000. That's what I was thinking.
All right, so 70,000 residents and 30 to 40,000 registered voters.
Yeah.
We need to increase that number.
Don't quote me on that.
And why is husband saying that all bets are off?
Because with COVID, nobody knows what's going to happen. So.
Right. So I've been saying that incumbents are sitting pretty, right? Incumbents are sitting pretty because the opponents really don't have the opportunity to go out and campaign.
Yes. Well, this seat is an open seat. We have term limits here in Weston, and our mayor is terming out, and the commissioner for seat 2, Tom Coleman, he is also terming out. So it is an open seat.
Okay. And so your strategy is making phone calls and social media as well. You are welcome, and I'm telling you this, you are welcome with a few thousand followers in Broward County. You're welcome to post your material on my platform. I will help recirculate it because if, for example, there's a candidate I see who is sincere, who has shown up on several events that I've been to in the past, which is you, and who says that you believe in fairness for all residents, then there's just nothing to say but just vote for you at the end of the day. That's just all there is. What number are you in the on the ballot? Are you, because there's an alphabetical listing, correct?
I am the last one.
Usually what I've heard is that usually the first or the last usually do pretty well.
Well, I think I will be the very last of the last, because the city election, the municipal elections, of course, are at the very end. And the mayor's race, seat 1 and seat 2 are the ones that are going to be listed on the ballot. And I'll be the last one of seat 2. So I probably will be the very last thing on the last name on the ballot.
And here's the other challenge that candidates are facing. I hate it. Raising money. How are you doing? Fundraising.
Oh.
The worst. It's the worst. It's the worst. And I'm telling you, that's the only obstacle I can think about running for office. I'm a people person. You're a people person. We can talk to everybody. I believe anybody who meets us will like us because we're educators, we're kind, we have a nice smile. Raising the money, oh my goodness. How are you handling that?
It's been very grassroots. I've $100 here, $50 there. I have these lovely people. I'll do a shout out to David and Sylvia Smith. They donate typically $5 every month. That's awesome. I just love them. Other people have donated 25 here, 25 there. My in-laws have donated a little bit. My mom has donated a little bit. My dad chucked in a little. So it's coming along. It's coming along.
Are you a member of a church community?
No.
Okay, because that would have been a different avenue to be able to get some people to donate as well.
Yeah.
Are there volunteering opportunities out there in Weston? Because that's another opportunity to meet people.
Oh yes, I as I mentioned, I volunteer quite a bit, and I also have student volunteers from my campaign and friends who are volunteering on the campaign. So I've got some retirees who are going to be phone banking for me. I just have to get them all set up. And so it's I volunteer and I have the help of volunteers.
Where do you volunteer?
Oh, well, I was mentioning earlier, I'm a member of the Community Emergency Response Team.
But but that's in Weston, correct?
Yes, that's in Weston.
There's a big hospital out there. Is that the hospital? What is that?
Cleveland Clinic.
Is that where you're volunteering from?
No, the community emergency response team is handled by the fire chief, our chief Todd Drazen. He's amazing. Now, we did meet in the hospital. There's a partnership between the fire department and the hospital. And we met out there for our training classes. And we had like a live action simulation of a disaster. We had the actors going out there, and they laid out on the grass, and they had little tags on them talking about all their wounds. So we did that. That was our last class that we did for the CERT team. And then we meet monthly. Well, COVID's kind of disrupted that, but we were meeting monthly prior to that. Then a board member for the Weston Music Society. Like I said, I've mentioned Girl Scouts already. I do that. I'm starting the founder and president of the Weston Community Garden Society. That's the organization that is going to have the community garden. We already have a space for that too. The city has already said that they have a designated space where we can do that. I have applied to be a Rotarian, but that hasn't happened. I'm just waiting to see. They're not going to have their meeting.
What would that mean? What would that mean? What does it mean to be the Kiwanis clubs? I think about Kiwanis and the Rotary Club
Yes.
and along the same veins. What would it mean to be a Rotarian?
It's a service organization. I've already been involved with them. We had an exchange student that came and lived with us for several months last year.
From where?
So,
Awesome.
Belgium.
Oh, that's awesome. So
Yes.
you had a chance to learn some French?
No, she was trying to learn English.
Okay.
I'm trying to learn Spanish. Don't confuse me.
Yes. It will become very, very, very useful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I'm involved with several other organizations as well. I'm a member of the American Association of University Women. I've been an active volunteer with Moms Demand Action. In fact, I went up to Tallahassee with them in January of 2019. I've also been an advocate with fighting for Florida's future. I went up to Tallahassee with them and advocated for to stop fracking in Florida. So
I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm glad that wasn't one of my questions, but I'm glad that you brought that up. Again, for academic purposes, at a middle school level, what is fracking?
It's when they do it's a method of oil drilling where they inject chemicals and so forth down into the ground to break up the rocks underneath the surface and extract the oil from those rocks. That's my understanding of it.
Why is that a problem?
Well, our water supply is down there.
Absolutely.
We're on top of the Biscayne Aquifer. We get our water from there. The rocks that are down there are permeable. So you can put a liquid down there. And in fact, I believe this has been done. They've put like a food coloring or some type of colored liquid down in there to see if it would permeate into other areas of the aquifer. And it did. These rocks are porous.
Right,
and so putting these chemicals down there to do the fracking, going through our water supply, that just, hello, no, that's not a good idea. Just saying,
And aside from entering chemicals in our water supply, they're weakening the rock bed. And, you know, that can trickle into housing, that can trickle into construction, that can be a major problem. And the people who are doing this are not people who live locally. These are people who are, rich and far away, and they are not necessarily caring about our health and the stability of the infrastructure of our homes.
Yes.
So definitely vote against that. You were saying?
Yes. Well, I know Representative Polo has been very active in trying to stop blasting in Hialeah near her home.
Are fracking and blasting synonyms?
No.
Okay. At a middle school level, explain blasting.
Well, that's not an issue that I've been too involved with. It was more, we dealt with that when we lived in Pembroke Pines a little bit more, but they were blasting to, for different reasons, I think just to make fill dirt. So they would blast and whatever they were producing when they were doing the blasting, it would shake our entire house. Mm-hmm. And if the blasting is close to your home and shaking it like that, it can crack your foundation.
Absolutely.
So that's a pretty serious issue. So it was, developers would blast to clear the area. So you know, I didn't really, because we moved away from there and we haven't had the issue with blasting. It's not something that I've really followed, but I know Representative Polo has spoken about that.
Absolutely. She's another woman, another leader, another Latina I'd love to be able to interview. So if you know her, please tell her that Ted Victor would like to interview her. She's wonderful.
She is.
I'm rooting for her as well.
I know about her. I've met her once or twice, but very briefly. One of those, oh, hi, how are you?
Yes.
I'm in awe.
Yeah, I'm rooting for her as well. All right, so talk to us as a conclusion, because as I said, my name is Ted Victor. I own the Broward Social Network. My specialty is doing what's called targeted social media, and I will repost this until everybody sees it as much as possible. Yeah. Talk to the audience. Now you have them in the palm of your hands, and let them know that why are you the best candidate for this seat?
I would like to bring fairness to the seat. Weston is already very well run. They have a 10-year plan, and I want to support that. I want to support what our city manager is basically the CEO of Weston. It's kind of run in a more business-like manner, and he needs the support of the commission to do what he needs to do. And I know they have a 10-year plan that they follow through on, and I've read through that, and I support their goals and what they want to do, and I want to make sure that that continues. So basically all of the good things that we have in Weston, I want to support and see continue, but still adapt to the future, adapt to the changing world that we live in now. I'm very focused on emergency preparedness as a member of the community emergency response team. I want to make sure that we continue to be fully prepared for any hurricanes or other types of disasters, such as viruses that come our way. And again, we have our fire chief is amazing. He is on top of things, and I want to make sure that he has the support to continue to be on top of things. And I think I'm the one to do that. So, and working with the schools. And
does Weston have a strong mayor?
Yes, but the CEO is more. I think that the CEO runs the day-to-day. The mayor and commissioners don't even have offices in City Hall, so it's a strong city manager, but the city manager also does work with the mayor and commissioners.
You don't have an office?
The commissioners, no.
Really?
Yeah, no.
How come?
Neither does the mayor.
Where do you hold your meetings?
There is a city commission chamber, but there's no individual offices for the mayor and commissioners. So. They meet. So the mayor and commissioners are the legislators. They write the ordinances. They do quasi-judicial hearings. They do zoning, all that type of thing. In fact, the main tasks of the city commission are to do the ordinances, to hire and fire the city manager and the city attorney, to set the budget. Those are important things. To appoint any boards that we might have, and Weston doesn't really do boards all that much like other cities do, although they do have a charter review board every 10 years. That's a pretty regular recurring board. But other than that, they don't have boards. They kind of work more with nonprofits, such as the Sports Alliance. Instead of having a board, they have the Sports Alliance and the Arts Guild. And now I'm working on establishing the Garden Society. So
when and how is Weston running its commission meetings?
Typically twice a month on Mondays. That changes if there's a conflict with, I know there's conflicts with like county budget meetings and so forth, so they have to work around that. During the commission meetings, the public is allowed to speak during audience comments or after agenda items. Members of the public can get 3 minutes to speak. They also have workshops, which are publicized. They do have a streaming service, so those are online for anyone to view. And workshops are only for the commissioners and whichever guests they have speaking. That's not for public comment. So they have those pretty regularly as needed. The workshops are more as needed. So
is it the second and fourth or the first and third Monday?
It just depends on how the calendar goes because they have to skip. I think it's usually like the first and third, but if there's disruptions or if they can't meet, there's a holiday or something, they'll juggle it around. They do always post the schedule on the city website.
Around 6 p.m.
7.
Around 7 o'clock. And how long do they usually last? I mean, I'm curious because to my surprise, as a person who's paying attention, the average person is not paying attention, but as a person who's paying attention, to my surprise, very few people show up to the commission meetings.
Yeah, it varies. Commission meetings can last anywhere from 20 minutes to hours. So finally, they had a couple of meetings over the summer last year that ran into the wee hours of the morning. And so they passed a resolution that, or an ordinance that they were going to cut off at 11 unless they voted to extend the meeting beyond that if they had something that they needed to do. So they did put an 11 o'clock time limit finally. But I think one meeting ran till well after midnight. And there was a lot of controversy, a lot of people speaking. So, and some meetings, there's the sprinkling of people that show up when we were still able to meet in person. And in some meetings, the commission chambers would be packed. So it just depends on if there's issues that the community is fired up about.
Aside from traffic, what would you say is the number one concern in your city?
Maintaining the schools and making sure that the schools stays A-rated schools, and that the kids have a good educational experience out here.
That sounds about right to me. All right. Well, Kim Schnitzius, I believe I pronounced that correctly.
That was perfect.
It has been really my honor to have had this conversation with you. Getting to know you, there's just no question about it. You're going to win this election. You're going to be supported. You're going to be well received by the community. And I will make sure personally, I unfortunately cannot vote for you in terms of a vote, but I'm voting for you on social media. You have my vote.
Thank you.
And I will make sure that everybody knows who you are, because that is a unique last name.
It is.
So look,
but my website, I took that off my website. So the website is just Kim for Weston. It doesn't have the last name in there, so nobody has to try and spell it.
I'll say, look for the one that you cannot pronounce, and that's the one.
Yeah, so. That's it. Right. Exactly.
Well, it has been an honor to have spent some time with you. I appreciate you making time out of your very busy schedule to spend time with me, Ted Victor, the Broward Social Network. My platform is about giving everybody a voice, letting the communities get to know each other, because I believe when we know each other, we can like each other. When we know each other, we can respect each other, and we can peacefully coexist. So I look forward to seeing you elected in the future. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to charge you for this, but you know what I'm going to do? When you win, I'm going to ask you to somehow, at your leisure, when you are available, to make time out of your busy schedule to mentor my students for a day and show them what it's like. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm just telling you that there's a price to pay for this interview. I want you to mentor my kids and let them know what it's like to run a city. Because the average kid, we don't have civics anymore in high school, so the average kid doesn't really know what it's like to run a city. And I want to introduce them to that early. So is that a fair deal?
Oh, try and stop me. I'm there. I am there.
It's an easy sell. It's an easy sell because there are people who do interviews and charge money, and I'm not against making money at all, and I probably should be charging. However, I think I get more in the long run if I were to say, you know what, in exchange for an interview, in exchange for giving you social media, I want your time, because I think that's the most valuable asset you have. Give me a day whereby you can tell young people what it's like to be a commissioner. Yes. What it's like to be a woman commissioner, what it's like to be a person responsible for so many things, people coming at you. And many times they're going to come to you and you're not necessarily the person who can solve the problem, but they want somebody to yell at, and that's going to be you.
Yeah. Yeah, that comes with the job. Gotta be ready for that, for sure.
It comes with the job.
Yeah, and I think making connections too, that's always something that I've been excelled at is making connections between this person can do this thing and this person can help them, and how do we bring those people together? And I think that's something a commissioner does too.
Bringing together talents. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you again, maybe a few seconds to give your final closing statement about who you are and where you want to take the city, and the last comments, and then I will go ahead and wrap it up. Any final words?
Well, I'll just finalize with my name again is Kim Schnitzius. The website is kimforweston.com. And I'm running for this office because I love the city of Weston, and I just want to maintain everything that's so great about the city, but still keep us moving forward. So those are my goals.
Well, there you have it, social media land. I am Ted Victor, founder of the Broward Social Network, spending an afternoon with Kim Schnitzius, who is a candidate for Commission Seat number 2 in the city of Weston in Broward County, Florida. I am asking you to give her your vote, to share this message with your friends, with your neighbors. If you speak Spanish, les voy a decir en español, por favor, que voten para Kim. Esa señora es una persona abierta, una persona feliz, una persona que va a recibir su información, que voten para ella en esa ciudad de Weston. Por favor, les pido su apoyo. Hay que compartir esta información con sus vecinos, con los miembros de su familia, con sus socios. Hay que votar para ella. By the way, are you November or are you August?
November 3rd.
El 3 de noviembre, November 3rd. So we do have a little bit of time to get your name out because August 18th is right around the corner. So we have a little bit of time.
Yes.
So we will circulate this until you are voted. And I would like at least an invitation to the victory party.
Yes, you got it.
Well, thank you again, Social Media Land. And Kim, it was such a pleasure talking to you. We will be in touch more often moving forward because we've seen each other, but we have not spoken enough to each other, because I do believe that great minds need to stick together for the betterment of our communities. And I thank you so very much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Kim. Take care. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.